Hello, everyone. I'm here to recap the Minnesota-Philadelphia game that just got done happening. Minnesota won 23-21. Philly, Carson Wentz went 24 of 35 for 311 yards and 8.9 average. He threw two touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked three times and had a quarterback rating of 115.3. Now, running the ball, Ajayi, he was their leading rusher with 8 carries, 29 yards, a 3.6 average. Wendell Smallwood had 3 carries for 27 yards, which is a 9 yards per carry average. Wentz carried it for 5 times for 26 yards, and Josh Adams had a negative 1 yard on his lone carry, which that's 17 carries for 81 yards, a 4.8 average. None of them got into the end zone on the ground. Receiving, Ertz caught 10 of his 11 targets for 110 yards. He caught one touchdown at the end there. Shelton Gibson caught his only target of the game. It was 48 yards against Mike Hughes. Nelson Aguilar caught all 4 of his targets for 45 yards. Smallwood, he caught the other touchdown. He caught 3 of his 4 targets for 44 yards. Alshon Jeffrey caught only 2 of his 8 targets for 39 yards. And Dallas Goedert, 2 for 2 on his and 16 yards, and that's kind of it for notables. And on third down, they were 2 of 9 for 22%, and in the red zone, they were 2 of 5 for 40%. They had 2 turnovers, and they were able to hold the ball for 27 minutes and 13 seconds. Now, Minnesota, Cousins was 30 of 37 for 301 yards and 8.1 average. The 1 touchdown, he didn't throw an interception. He was only sacked once today and had a 109.6 quarterback rating. And then Latavius Murray had 11 carries for 42 yards, a 3.8 average. Diggs got 2 carries for 25 yards. Rock Thomas, 4 carries for 8 yards. Boone got 1 carry for 1 yard, and Cousins 5 carries for 1 yard, but the kneel downs, they count as rushes, so that would have been more, but it's okay. And but they got 23 carries for 77 yards, which is 3.3 average. And receiving, Thielen, 7 of 10 targets for 116 yards and a touchdown, which that 100-yard mark is kind of a big one because that put him over 100, like, in terms of starting out the season. He's the first player in NFL history to go over 100 yards the first 5 games, which, that's pretty good. Pretty good, Adam Thielen. He's on pace to get his 1,000 yards again. And Diggs caught 10 of his 11 targets for 91 yards for a 9.1 yards per catch average. And a lot of those were screen passes, and on one of them, he made a ridiculous play. He probably should have been tackled short of, the first down marker, but he made like 3 or 4 people miss, it seemed like. Rudolph caught all 5 of his targets for 41 yards, the biggest one being that one at the end that scampered about 20. And Treadwell caught 3 of 4 targets for 21 yards, Murray 2 of 2 for 14. Ham caught 1 ball for 7 yards early in the game, and that was a very, very, very dangerous throw. I'm a little surprised that Kirk even threw that, but that's really it as far as notables are concerned. And we are 4 of 11 on third down conversions. It's 36%. They were 1 of 4 in the red zone, which is 25%. They had 1 turnover, and they were able to hold on to the ball for 32 minutes and 47 seconds. And yeah, now on to talking actually about the game, which is, I think Kirk played extremely well today. He didn't really put the ball in harm's way very often, and it seemed like more often than not he was making not only the right choice, but great throws. And I do think the offensive line was better today, but better doesn't mean good. I still don't think they were good necessarily. Now, obviously, it hurts when, Riley Reef leaves the game rather early, and I don't believe he came back. So that obviously hurts the offensive line, and I think O'Neal played okay. I'm I'm still thinking, like, even though we would ideally like to give O'Neal like a complete redshirt year and start Rashad Hill, the more you watch O'Neal, the more you realize this could be better than Rashad Hill right now, which I think is kind of the problem. Like, we don't really have a guy there that's so good to hold that part right there. We have Rashad Hill, who is kind of just a swing tackle. So, yeah. And I think Thielen and Diggs were kind of one of the main reasons why we even had a chance in this game, as they seem to have that knack this year, where it feels like if we don't have those two guys, we're kind of screwed. And today they did what they always did. They are the lead dogs in that receiving tandem, or I guess trio if you want to include Rudolph. Like, they're the things that actually make this offense hard to defend, because if we don't have them, what do we have? And so it's very good that they came through again today. And we were using the passing game as an extension of the running game, which is kind of the screens to Diggs I was talking about. And speaking of screens, we almost did pull a Viking at the end, which is one of those Viking mistakes with the lateral thing that was supposed to be a screen to Rock Thomas, and it ended up being a fumble. But our defense came through, which was good. We haven't been able to save that too much this year. And yeah. So, but defensively, we looked a lot better, especially in the second half. Wait, actually, I need to revert back because I forgot to mention a thing, which is the red zone. We need to capitalize in the red zone, because I think that almost kind of screwed us over at the end. Because early on, we were able to get into the red zone. We missed a field goal. We got another field goal. And what really bailed us out was Linval happened. So, but yeah, back to the defense now. Sorry about that. But they looked a lot better, especially in the first half today. And like I said, Linval Joseph getting that the big man touchdown, which I know we all love. We did get some pretty good pressure on Carson Wentz today, which I was unsure how that would work out, because you do have Sheldon Richardson and Danielle Hunter still, but Linval's not really known as a pass rusher. You do have you had Stephen Weatherly there today, kind of rotating with Jalen Holmes, because you had both Everson and Tashawn Bauer out. So I was unsure how much pressure we would really get. It turns out we would get quite a few. So yeah, that's a good thing. It's a good thing, because that kind of means that Stephen Weatherly's kind of taken this next step forward, which is kind of the best case scenario for us right now. And because it's not like he's beaten some no-name tackle. He beat Lane Johnson on the pass that Linval ended up intercepting. Was it called an interception or a fumble? Thought it was a pick. But we also did hold their running game in check, though, because if you take away Carson Wentz's stats, they only ran the ball 12 times, I know, so this is kind of a smaller sample size, but they only had 55 yards on those 12 carries, which really isn't that great. So, good job on the defense's part, because it's been kind of leaky all over the place this year. And even though those stats were kind of inflated at the end there on that last drive by Philadelphia, we were also able to keep Alshon Jeffrey to 39 yards the whole day. Like I said, only 2 of 8 targets for 39 yards. It's really good. That means Rhodes is getting back to his ways, I think, a little bit more than we saw earlier this year. And even though we only had 39 yards, they were a pretty big 39 yards. The 4th down conversion and that play where we sent kind of an all-out blitz there, and Carson just kind of ducked under. And there's Alshon Jeffrey in the middle of the field for 31 yards. So they were a very costly 39 yards, but the fact that he didn't have any other impacts on the game, that's a very, very good news for us. And on special teams, we have to go over special teams today, unfortunately, because once again, we are struggling on the special team front. Never seems to end. And because we had a shanked punt earlier, but it kind of worked out a little bit because we got a good bounce on that. But then he also had a 35-yard punt, and then Dan Bailey missed 3 of his 5 field goals, which were 45 and 28 yards, and that's good for 60%. Gotta fix this kicking game in general. Like, even though that first one was very close to being inside, it was not inside, and now it becomes a problem. We can't keep missing these easy kicks and expect it to work out all the time. That doesn't always happen. That doesn't usually happen. So, which this kind of goes back into, the converting on the red zone thing. We shouldn't be attempting too many 28-yard field goals anyway. So, it's a little concerning. I can kind of bypass a 45-yarder if we didn't miss a 28-yarder. It'd be a little easier, even though we still need to make those. And especially since it's Dan Bailey, he was supposed to be, the guy who fixes it. Even though I'm kind of with these Viking kickers by now. And let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And until next time, I bid you all adieu.